Imagine stumbling across a chilling crime scene in the dead of winter. A metallic blue Range Rover parked down a lonely farm track, its windows eerily clear despite the frost, and inside, three men slumped in their seats, each one executed with ruthless precision. This isn't a movie script, it's the real-life horror of the Rettendon Murders, a triple killing that shook the quiet village of Rettendon, Essex, back in December 1995. Who were these men? Why were they gunned down in cold blood? And what dark secrets unraveled in the aftermath? Stick with me as we dive into one of Britain's most infamous gangland mysteries, a story of drugs, betrayal, and a controversial investigation that still haunts us today. It was a freezing morning on December 7th, 1995, when 47-year-old Ken Jiggins knocked on his friend Peter Theobald's door. Theobald ran a shooting range on his 130-acre farm, and with the ground blanketed in snow and frost, Ken offered to help feed the 800 pheasants scattered across the fields. As they scraped ice from Theobald's Land Rover and rumbled across the property, something caught their eye. 300 yards away, a metallic blue Range Rover sat motionless in front of a locked gate near an angler-s pond. At first, Ken thought the two men in the front seats were asleep, maybe poachers catching a nap. But when he tapped on the window and got no response, he shouted, "There are two dead men here." Peter edged closer and spotted a third body slumped across the back seat. The driver's hands gripped the steering wheel, his foot still on the brake, a gaping gunshot wound behind his ear. Blood seeped from the car, but not as much as you'd expect. This wasn't an accident, it was an execution. By 8:30 that morning, Detective Superintendent Ivan Dibley's breakfast was interrupted by a call he'd never forget. A triple murder in Rettendon, a quiet corner of Essex known more for courting couples than carnage. Dibley, a seasoned cop with over 25 murder cases under his belt, rushed to Workhouse Lane. What he found was chilling. 3 men, each shot twice in the head at close range with a 12-bore pump-action shotgun. The passenger's face was obliterated by a gruesome blast, unrecognizable. The man in the back had an extra shot to the stomach, as if the killer wanted to be sure. Dibley knew this wasn't random. "This is not an ordinary murder," he said. "It looks as if they were enticed down there. As far as murders go, you don't get any more serious than this." Fingerprints soon revealed the victims' identities. Local hardmen and drug dealers known as the Essex Boys. The driver was 26-year-old Craig Rolfe, a cocaine-addicted muscleman with a string of petty crimes. In the passenger seat was his boss, 38-year-old Tony Tucker, a violent thug who ran a lucrative security racket for Essex nightclubs. And in the back was 37-year-old Pat Tate, a hulking bodybuilder fresh out of prison, with a rap sheet of drug offenses and armed robbery. These weren't choir boys. They were feared gangsters with enemies piling up like the snow outside. All three had been planning a night out with their girlfriends, mobile phones still clutched in their lifeless hands. No seatbelts, no signs of a struggle. They never saw it coming. The scene screamed gangland hit. 8 shotgun shells littered the ground. 3 shots fired in rapid succession to take out Rolfe and Tucker, then a reload to finish Tate with 2 to the head and 1 to the gut. Dibley suspected Tate was the real target, the others just collateral damage. But why here? Workhouse Lane was quiet but not isolated, with the farmhouse nearby and a pond known for drug stashes. Were they lured by someone they trusted? Tate, a paranoid cokehead who always carried a gun, was unarmed that night. Something, or someone, had disarmed their suspicions. The Essex Boys weren't saints. Pat Tate was a loose cannon. 6 weeks out of prison, he'd already survived a hit where a brick smashed through his window and a bullet grazed his arm. He hid drugs and a gun under his hospital pillow, landing him back behind bars until his parole. The night before his death, he terrorized a pizza shop manager over a custom order, smashing the till and the man's face into a sink. Tony Tucker bankrolled his lavish lifestyle. $250,000 house, flashy cars, with drug deals and club bouncers. Craig Rolfe, the driver, was Tucker's loyal enforcer, a car-obsessed coke addict living secretly with his girlfriend and daughter. Together, they ruled Essex's underworld through fear, but their reign ended in that Range Rover. Dibley's team chased every lead. Was it revenge for Kevin Whitaker's 1994 overdose death, linked to Tucker and Rolfe over a drug debt? Or tied to Leah Betts, an 18-year-old who died from ecstasy traced to Tucker's nightclub supply? Rumors swirled, a $60,000 debt to a London firm, a double cross over cannabis. Locals left tributes at the scene, one calling Tate a wonderful man poisoned by drugs, but most whispered they got what they deserved. The families stayed silent, too scared, or too guilty, to talk. Enter Operation Century, a shadowy sting that turned the case upside down. Dibley teamed with Royal Ulster Constabulary Special Branch to pressure suspects with fake threats from Irish drug runners. They harassed families, like Craig Rolfe's girlfriend Donna Jaggers, with menacing calls from Belfast, claiming debts from the dead men. It backfired. Suspects clammed up, and the tactics drew outrage when exposed. But in May 1996, a break. 3 men arrested in a drug bust: Michael Steele, Jack Holmes, and Darren Nichols. Nichols, a convicted fraudster, turned supergrass, spinning a tale of betrayal. Nichols claimed Steele, a slick drug smuggler, supplied Tate's crew with $350,000 of bad cannabis. When Tate refused to return it and threatened Steele's life, Steele struck back. He lured them to Workhouse Lane with a fake cocaine deal, using Holmes as the triggerman. Nichols said he picked them up after the hit, blood-splattered and gloating. "They won't fuck with us again," Steele allegedly sneered, calling himself an angel of death. At the 1998 Old Bailey trial, Nichols's testimony, backed by shaky phone records, nailed Steele and Holmes with triple life sentences. He vanished into witness protection, a $250,000 bounty on his head. But was justice served? Steele and Holmes swear they're innocent. In 2023, private investigators from TMI, led by ex-cop David McKelvey, dropped a bombshell on Sky's The Essex Murders. They argue the hit was a midnight job by a pro-assassin, not Steele and Holmes, tied to Tony Tucker stealing $495,000 from an East London robbery. A witness confessed to arranging it, saying Tate and Rolfe were just in the wrong place. The CCRC dismissed their appeal, and Essex police stand by the original verdict. Yet doubts linger. Did a killer slip away, leaving 2 men to rot for a crime they didn't commit? The Rettendon Murders remain a dark riddle, a tale of greed, vengeance, and a botched investigation that raises more questions than answers. Who really pulled the trigger that night? Are the real culprits still out there, hiding in the shadows of Essex's underworld? One thing's certain, this story's not over. Stay tuned, because the truth might still be waiting to break free.